An excerpt from the audiobook Tales of the Radio Traveler, read by me, the author, Russ Johnson, available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. First, from the introduction. Radio took me to faraway worlds, squeals and voices bouncing off the ionosphere and landing in my little box.
This is Radio ET. We begin our program with a quotation from Chairman Mao Zedong.
My father, the navigator, knew the stars. He showed me the astronomical charts and mathematical tables he used to guide his ship. There was a wheat field in northern Minnesota, away from the pollution of streetlights, where he often took me to explore the skies. One night, we saw the ballet of the Aurora Borealis. He said the northern lights reminded him of the shelling he saw on the horizon as he navigated the Mediterranean. But on one clear night in 1957, we witnessed something that was not of nature. Not the fireflies dancing themselves into a mating frenzy, nor the planets or galaxies that held their marks like bet players, nor the shooting stars doing their swan songs. What we strained to see was a tiny speck moving across the horizon, a beach ball-sized sphere called Sputnik. I was too young to worry about the Russians in the Cold War and the notion that Sputnik could be a weapon of mass destruction. But what I did see that night was that there was a world far beyond the grip of gravity and the borders of my neighborhood. Later, we turned on the shortwave radio. 20.002 megahertz was Sputnik's address on the dial. Its flea-powered transmitter, undoubtedly powered by enslaved Soviet fleas, bleeped through the static as it passed overhead. Radio became the window of my landlocked world.
This is Radio Moscow, and here is the news.
Listening to an oily Radio Moscow propagandist or a ham radio operator in the Congo crackling through the static allowed me to stray off to visions of giant missiles rolling through Red Square and flying monkeys. I later learned the Morse code and became a ham radio operator myself, staying up late into the night making contact with exotic places. I had papered my walk-in closet with National Geographic maps. Borneo, just below the hem of my raincoat, was a flat green space. No people, no trees, no snakes or orangutans living on this map. Just blue veins of rivers, and a few exotic names like Kota Kinabalu. Years later, I lay in the bow of a boat directly on the equator, puttering up a small tributary of the Mahakam River, a main artery of that flat green blob of the real Borneo. Fireflies, here called calops, are again doing their number. Unlike the Minnesota cornfield, the constellations of both hemispheres stretch out before me. Like a monk, one tipsy on Indonesian beer, I search for metaphors, something profound to scratch on a scroll. Two worlds? Dumb. A left brain, right brain thing? Does one hemisphere calculate and the other dance? Why isn't Dusseldorf like Guadalajara? I ponder where I am, between two worlds, beneath many others. Why do the British walk the way they do? Why do the Thais drive the way they do? Why is there a Donald Duck statue in the square of a jungle town near here? And why does a local television station begin the day with a Muslim prayer and a Donald Duck cartoon? This was the real world, piquing more speculation and fantasy than any rant or squeal I had heard on the radio. I wanted to see, smell, hear, and feel it for myself. Tales of the Radio Traveler by Russell Johnson is available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes.